Good morning, this is Dylan Jovine with Behind the Markets. Happy Thursday. Today's Thursday, June 19th. Lots of stuff happening. My goodness. I yearn for a time when we didn't hear from Washington so much. I'm serious. I grew up in a world where the less you heard from the federal government, the better. Boy, oh boy, those were the good old days. Anyway, today I want to talk about some of the knock-on effects of the Israel and Iran conflict. I also want to clarify something I said yesterday because I got a lot of notes, and a friend of mine who watched this and members of ours who I communicate with a lot say, I'm not an interventionist. I don't support regime change in Iran. That's not how I see the world. I think every country should just do what it does and act in its own self-interest, and people can choose. And if they really want regime change, they should choose regime change. I don't want to do that from the outset. It's ridiculous. I always thought that was ridiculous. I'm just talking about nuclear facilities. The capacity to knocking out nuclear facilities is obviously a good idea. And people say, why do you say that's a good idea? Steve Bannon says it's not, and Tucker Carlson says it's not. And I said, look, philosophy teaches you how man should behave. Psychology tells you how they might behave. But history tells you how man has behaved for 6,000 years, okay? For 60 generations, there's 6,000 years. Okay, we have a clear record, and that record says that when one regional area gets a weapon that gives it a serious competitive advantage over its other peer competitors in that area, the others seek to balance that out by getting weapons that equal that. It's the introduction of the gun, the introduction of the cannon, the introduction of bow and arrows, the introduction of all different armor, iron versus the other stuff, basically Bronze Age weapons. So this is a real thing. History tells us what this is. We don't have to have a big imagination to imagine a world where Saudi Arabia and this one and that one, all these guys, Iraq, Afghanistan, maybe even, all these guys are going to want nuclear weapons because Iran will be able to bully them. You don't want to live in a world like that. It's just ridiculous. And like I said yesterday, having an Osama bin Laden type topple that government. But we haven't really talked about how this conflict has played out in the oil markets. And, you know, we're very long a lot of energy stuff right now. And the energy sector has gotten hammered down a little bit because people thought the economy was going to slow down, which always brings the price of oil down with all these tariffs and all this other stuff. But I think smart investors may be missing the greatest underlying theme of our generation still. Seriously, the AI revolution is being powered by oil. So while oil has risen 9%, and we look like heroes this week, oh my God, how smart those guys are. They recommended oil stocks last week and they're up 10% and all that other stuff. That's all short-term stuff. In the long term, there has never been a revolution on the earth that has not been powered by energy. So at root, every revolution, every technological revolution is really an energy boom at its core. That's a very important thing to understand. And I wrote some facts and figures. When the railroad boom ripped across America, coal production surged from 10 million to 200 million tons to power the steam engine. When Ford started making Model Ts, oil production exploded from 20 million barrels to 1 billion barrels. So nothing moves without energy. And right now, we have created the biggest energy-consuming technology in history. It's really crazy. Also, by the way, when you look at energy demand relative to the introduction of the internet, it's doubled. The development of the semiconductor basically has, the microchip has caused energy use to double almost basically every 7, 8, 9, 10 years. So this is terrific. You really have to understand that every time ChatGPT now has 100 billion customers, Google, Gemini, all these AIs that are really growing, they're very energy intensive. They actually pull a lot more information. They pull on the grid 1,000 times greater than a regular Google search. So the AI revolution is really at root an energy revolution. There are plenty of companies, and we put out a special report on this last year that we've just updated. There are plenty of companies that are really well positioned where every time they move energy around this country, like pipeline operators and all other types of things, where every time somebody uses AI in their house, they're moving energy back and forth. So it's like they get a royalty on all energy usage and the growth of AI. It's quite extraordinary how this all works, how this all plays out. But I'm very excited about it. I think this is great. We created this issue for members of Takeover Targets, which we're going to get out to them again in the updated one. I'm really excited because it's one thing to pick the amazing AI stocks that are going to be great. And the NVIDIAs of the world, the Palantirs of the world, they go up, they go crazy. That's fun. That's great. That's awesome. There's a lot of opportunity in that, especially in robotics and all these other things. But the underlying energy that powers it is safer. They pay ridiculously high dividends. It's just like a better, safer way to play the AI revolution without risky things that are going up and down and up and down and that are really near all-time highs, the stock market in particular, whereas you have the energy sector, which, yes, it's up 9% this week, this Iran stuff, but it's basically been down this year. I think this makes a super compelling entry point. And if you find this an interesting story, if you're like, you know what, I'd like to know more about how energy is powering AI, check out our report on the issue. Anyway, that's all I have. Have a wonderful day.